Hello and welcome back to another episode of Suits and Takes, episode 76 now of the podcast. My name is Domenico Crincoli. I'm here alongside Anthony Crincoli. Anthony, say what's up to the people.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
Big time pod, big time day. For those of you that haven't been keeping up with sports, haven't been keeping up with the pods, Boston Celtics made an insane run, and now they're on their way to their first finals appearance in over 10 years. And let me just tell you, as a Boston Celtics fan, I gotta say, life is good. So basically on this episode of Suits and Takes, you can expect us to talk about the NBA Finals. We're really going to talk about this matchup between the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors. We're going to save a lot of other sports topics for another episode of the podcast. We just feel like being the first day of the finals, we haven't really spoken a lot about basketball as of late. Figured let's keep it strictly basketball. We can talk about all the awards. We can talk about the finals matchup, who we think is going to win and how many games, and then obviously finals MVP. But you know what? Cue the music.
It's been a long time coming.
Oh, definitely. You know, it's just with everything going on with like school and just life. Life really, it really be like that sometimes. But we're back, and honestly, I fumbled the bag crazy, especially me being a Boston Celtics fan when this team was going on the insane run that they've been on. I mean, you go back-to-back series of Game 7s after sweeping one of the most overrated teams in NBA history in the first round. It's just amazing to me that you look at this team. You look at the Boston Celtics. You look at the Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors, a team that I had originally from the jump. I said round one, Golden State's going to make the finals. And my Eastern Conference team, I said, you know what? I think it's going to be Miami. And obviously, I was wrong. I didn't expect Boston. As a Boston Celtics fan, I didn't expect them to go this far. I said it in the podcast multiple times. I thought, okay, if you beat... I didn't have one for the first round. If we go back to our first round series, I had Brooklyn beating them, and then I said Milwaukee's going to do them in because of Giannis. And then you go with this Miami series. I said Miami's defense is insane, and they were insane at parts. You had Victor Oladipo come up with big plays. Kyle Lowry was flopping all over the court, getting those big calls on his side. I thought Bam could have been more of an impact player on the defensive side. And then you had Jimmy Butler, who just went off. I mean, the man played 48 minutes, minus the torn meniscus, as Drake song on once, the Nicki song, I should say. Seeing green, and you know what? I've been seeing a lot of green recently wearing the jerseys. Shout out DH Gate for those. No free shout out, but no sponsor as well.
Except for Island Coastal Brewing. We'll throw that out there.
I guess we can throw the Island Coastal out there. Shout out. I was gonna look for something on the table, but we don't really have anything besides.
Next episode. Maybe next month.
Father's kind of chilling here. PJ, I got Evan.
Yeah.
R.I.P. the gnome.
Yeah. He'll come back. He'll be like a Frankenstein monster next episode.
I thought I had the pieces down here, but I guess I didn't.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate. But
you also think the Boston Celtics have all the pieces to win this championship.
You know what's interesting? The Boston Celtics haven't lost a series since that gnome broke. We all thought it was the sign of what was to come.
They made the finals.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, the broken gnome is a sign of anything to come. I mean, we should be excited for big things here.
Well, I think the Boston Celtics are the team that Billy King built. So I think we're rooting for the Boston Celtics. I'm indirectly rooting for the Brooklyn Nets.
So you're rooting for the Boston Celtics in the series?
You see, like, the thing is, right, I think the Warriors' hate of, like, oh, here we go, the Warriors, I feel like it's gone. I feel like people really don't care about the Warriors. Like, they don't have a negative, mindset when it comes to the Warriors like they did, 3-4 years ago. Even before Kevin Durant, people were like, they were tired of the Warriors. When they went 73-9, they're like, okay, I want to see LeBron knock off the number one team. The Warriors weren't the number one seed going into this playoffs. You didn't have Klay Thompson for a stretch of time. You were dealing with injuries. People just liked seeing Steph Curry do his thing. Chef Curry cook. Letting him cook. It's better than letting Russell Wilson cook. It's the stupidest saying in all of sports, letting Russ cook. I'm still not over that. But, Chef Curry doing what he has to do. It's exciting basketball. So I think the Warriors are an exciting team to watch. And, as a Nets fan, it is kind of hard to root against the Celtics team because of how hard they play. Jason Tatum was a very likable player. Jaylen Brown's a very likable player as well.
Donda Sports, Jaylen Brown. Shout out him. First
Shout
player
out,
to
yeah.
sign with Donda Sports. Look at that.
And it's also
Donda athletes are undefeated in championship games.
Yeah, I have a hard time rooting against anyone on that team. I mean, Robert Williams, I always thought he was a dog when he was drafted. Al Horford, finally making it to the finals after making deep playoff runs several times throughout his career.
It was actually interesting. Oh my God, just dying out of here. It was actually interesting that Al Horford had the longest playoff streak without a finals appearance, and now it's Paul Millsap, and it's it's strictly because of LeBron James. LeBron James caused those two guys to just miss out on finals after finals, especially when they were 4 All-Stars deep. Those teams that they were leading the Eastern Conference, they didn't make the finals there. Al Horford didn't make it in Boston. He didn't make it in Philly when those teams made the playoffs there. So, I mean, he played over 100 games without making a finals appearance, which is insane when you look at it.
Yeah, if we're looking at Paul Millsap, though, I think Paul Millsap had a significant stretch in, with Utah for a bit, too. So I think he...
I mean, they both did. They both had stretches after Atlanta where they were making the playoffs consecutive years.
Yeah. That's
look at Al Horford. I mean, I just said it. Boston, Philly. He was on playoff rosters for 4 consecutive years.
What sucks is I think Paul Millsap would have had a ring this year if Philly or Brooklyn were to win the finals, and
it's just a shame when you have 2 horses in the when we were talking about the NFL playoffs, and I was I have 3 horses in the NFC race.
Nothing.
I was I'm a Green Bay Packers shareholder. I'm a huge Arizona Cardinals fan, and I'm a huge Tom Brady fan. So I was all right, I'll be happy if any of the 3 win. I was the one team I don't want to see the win, the Los Angeles Rams. And what happened? They went all the way. They won the big game, and I was very upset. So I think here is a similar situation where I don't necessarily have horses, 2 horses in the 2-pony race, but I just was a huge fan of Steph Curry. Obviously, when Kevin Durant left them, I became more of a fan of what they did because they're a homegrown team. The 2 teams actually in the finals are kind of homegrown teams. You have Jaylen Brown, that was Jason Tatum that was drafted, Robert Williams that was drafted, Marcus Smart that was drafted. Al Horford's really the only starter on that team that wasn't drafted.
Yeah, and
then you look at the Golden State Warriors side. You have Jordan Poole, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. Andrew Wiggins was the only one that wasn't drafted on that side of the ball. When you look at some of the impact players in the Warriors.
And, I mean, you can make the argument for Wiggins and Horford that it was those systems that really made them, start falling out.
Andrew Wiggins, all-star starter.
All-star starter. Horford was having honestly, you could have made a case that Horford could have been in the running for the Larry Bird Trophy for the Eastern Conference Finals.
It's interesting because Al Horford always seems to play better when the lights are brightest. It's these playoff series, playoff Al was a real thing. Everyone going into this year was we traded Kemba Walker and we got Al Horford because playoff Al is real. And looking back at the trade, I'm definitely want to talk about it when you look at the Ime Udoka signing, and then you look at Brad Stevens kind of moving up and Danny Ainge kind of taking a step out. It's just amazing that the trust the process. You talk about Philly trusting the process. The Boston Celtics really trusted their process at a time where, I mean, we've been doing the podcast for over 2 years now. It doesn't even seem like it's been that long, but it's reaching up over 2 years. And I mean, year after year, even pre-podcast, it's always remember sitting at the high school lunch table, and it's it's time for the Celtics to move Jaylen Brown, and it was always Jaylen Brown's the guy that can move and get another starter. And
I mean,
I look at when the Celtics are falling apart at the midseason, and then I'll let you make your point. The big thing was trade Marcus Smart. You just signed this guy. It's $20 million a year. You got to trade him. You have now the Defensive Player of the Year. You have first team All NBA, and I think Jaylen Brown, the former All-Star Jaylen Brown, he didn't make it this past year. The complementary pieces are there. Robert Williams, a guy that signed a long-term extension this past offseason it's going to look like a steal, that deal. And of course, Al Horford's getting that $30+ million contract. But at the end of the day, you win a championship this year, it's worth it. And the leadership that he brings for that $30 million, obviously you're not paying him for solely his talent. You're paying him for what he brings in terms of culture, in terms of leadership, that veteran leadership that's almost, you can't put a price tag on that, especially because everyone respected Al Horford. And Al Horford was a guy that was a part of those winning teams when they were just short of making it. So the fact that he's back and they're making those strides towards the finals, it's just they finally broke through. And I think this is a major thing because even if you don't win it this year, you finally have that we made it. We can make it. We had Jason Tatum lead a championship team, or lead a team that made it the Eastern Conference Championship, that won the Eastern Conference Championship and made the finals. So it was a lot of hope on this Boston Celtics team, and I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for this series. I don't know. I'll let you make your point, and then we'll talk about the matchup.
I mean, I guess a couple points. I think NBA fans do not value playoff experience the way that it should be valued. I mean, you see a guy like Al Horford, longest tenured NBA player prior to the season not to make the NBA Finals. You may see that as like just a statistic, but to have that experience on your roster is insane. I think I keep seeing this narrative online that, NBA fans are kind of spoiled and we take deep playoff runs for granted because LeBron was just so great and he did it for pretty much a decade consecutively. He made the finals every single year, and now everyone's under the impression that, if you're a great player, you're expected to make a deep playoff run and be, either make the Eastern Conference or Western Conference Finals or make the finals pretty much every year. Like Giannis won the finals last year. He got bounced in the second round. Are we saying Giannis isn't an all-time great? No, but many people kind of have that perception of him because we're comparing him to LeBron James, and LeBron James is arguably the best player of all time.
I agree.
It's kind of difficult to look at basketball now post LeBron and, try to have an unbiased view on these players. I mean, Jason Tatum's led his team to the finals this year, and if he were not to do it next year, the Celtics, the Celtics were to win or lose, whatever, and the Celtics get bounced second round next year, are we just going to forget that he led a team to the finals in a year because he didn't do the following year?
It's going to be interesting. I don't necessarily think so. I just think when you look at the Miami Heat, after they made the finals, and then they got beat by the Lakers, and then the following year they got bounced in the first round, swept by Milwaukee. And that was really okay, is this Miami Heat team legit? And then they completely reloaded. I mean, you brought in Kyle Lowry to be your starting point guard, which is an upgrade over Goran Dragic at the time. And it was okay, this Miami Heat team's ready to go. And to be fair, you look at they brought in PJ Tucker, and you're this defense is insane. And I've been saying that. The defense, when you look at the roster, top to bottom, especially that starting lineup where you had Kyle Lowry, you had Bam, you had Jimmy, you had PJ. I was wow. And then you had Tyler Hero coming off the bench. I know you had a lot of undrafted guys putting in those minutes. And it was okay, respect. Miami's always going to be that type of team that Pat Riley's going to bring in guys. Eric Spoelstra's going to coach up guys that are going to be undrafted guys that are going to put in solid minutes. And that's just the way they go. That's the Heat culture. They're going to find those diamonds in the rough, and they're going to work it out. Very similar to a team like San Antonio, other teams around the league that can find those guys.
I think it was the first time that a team that in that situation had two starters that were undrafted.
Yeah. So it's just impressive. It was very impressive. Could you look at, in terms of benches, you had Duncan Robinson, who was getting big time money, didn't get a lot of minutes, man.
Yeah, he wasn't
making a lot of his shots, and then that really hindered them because they put a lot of money towards Kyle Lowry, who was just flopping all over the court. And it was just funny because you're watching Marcus Smart versus Kyle Lowry, the two biggest floppers in the league. Everyone knows that, but they get those calls. Mm-hmm. And Kyle Lowry in that Game 7 game was getting those calls. Didn't put up a lot of points, but he was trying to do everything he can in terms of outside of scoring. It was okay, this is a dog fight. And trust me, when Boston went up 13 or they were up 11-13, I was oh wow, this is crazy. And I didn't believe it to the final buzzer. And I think that was the right way to go because you saw the run they made where we have to talk about the Jimmy Butler shot. We have to talk about it. He in transition, Al Horford on him. Al Horford's backing up. Jimmy Butler pulls up for the win, misses it, basically game over. Do you think that was the correct shot to take?
100%. He's the best player on the team. He's been on a tear. Who else would you give that shot to?
I don't know necessarily if giving the shot to Jimmy Butler is the right move. I mean, down by 2, do you need the 3? Jimmy Butler, not known for his three-point shooting. Man's been playing 47 and a half minutes. He hits that 3, the series is over, which is what you have to think about when you look at the Jimmy Butler shot. Was it a great shot for Jimmy Butler?
For him, no. But, I mean, situationally,
if the Miami Heat were going to lose, that was the way they should have lost.
Yeah, you lose.
Jimmy Butler putting in 47 plus minutes at that point. He played every minute. Him going for that 3, not a great shot. I feel as though he could have drove to the basket, gotten a better shot, maybe converted and won. The result would have been the same. But Jimmy Butler had to take that shot. If anyone was going to take that shot, the last shot for the win, whether it be a drive, whether it be a 3, it had to be Jimmy Butler. And as a Celtics fan, when I saw that Jimmy Butler pull up,
I was going to say,
I was waiting for the bang call. I was waiting for it.
I think if if you had that reaction, like, oh, this shot might go in, I think it was the right shot to make. I mean, I think he was feeling himself that game. He was on fire. And like you said, that was the way to go out. He had the ball in his hands. He had an opportunity. He had a shot that he thought he could make. He was on a roll. Take the shot. Big-time players make big-time plays. The shot just didn't go in.
It's just amazing because what could have been if he were to drive. And
that would have been like the Dame shot on steroids.
The Celtics would have had a chance, which was promising. That was the first thought I had in my mind. Like, if that shot went in, they had a chance. But just knowing the way they played, that concerned me as a Boston Celtics fan. Because you had Marcus Smart pulling up from three. Like, that's not his game. But when he pulls up from three and starts making those, that's when they get dangerous. When Marcus Smart's on one, that's when it gets fun. But at that moment, Marcus Smart was not on one. They were shooting threes. They were missing. I mean, you blew an 11-point lead, 2 minutes left. You almost blew the series, and that would have been the ultimate collapse by any playoff team, arguably ever.
Because honestly, I don't think Miami necessarily outplayed Boston like in any game. I think Boston gave away a lot of the loss that they had. I think were easily winnable by Boston.
It's interesting you say that because I feel as though it was the same thing last series too. You had a lot of times like the Al Horford tip-in didn't go in, like Marcus Smart, the three thing that didn't happen, the no foul call, which I wasn't too upset about. But there was a lot of times in the game where it's like Boston Celtics, they were the better team, but they beat themselves.
It's the thing I like to say all the time. Like, Miami didn't win the game, Boston lost. I mean, I like people make fun of me when I say stuff like that, but it's like you could win a game but not be the best team on the court that game or the best team on the field that game when you win the game. Like, the other team could have just really thrown the game.
It's like that with any sport. Yeah. I mean, if you don't show up to play, you're not going to win. And I think when you look at the Golden State Warriors, they're definitely going to be the best team that Boston's played so far in this playoffs. You look at the Brooklyn Nets, the Warriors are better than the Brooklyn Nets. You look at the Milwaukee Bucks without Chris Middleton, the Golden State Warriors at almost full strength minus James Wiseman. And obviously, Klay Thompson's coming back from the injury. He's not really what he used to be. And then you had Gary Payton, who's coming back. He will be playing game one. So I would say they're better than Milwaukee. And then Miami, I think Golden State still has the edge over Miami in terms of just star power, which is very concerning because you look at Boston, they did have to go through the gauntlet of the Eastern Conference. In terms of making the finals, I said this with round one. I said if Boston were to make the finals, they would have to go through the gauntlet of KD, Giannis, and the Miami Heat led by Jimmy Butler.
I know. But that takes a toll on you.
And you look at the Golden State Warriors, this is the best team they've played so far in the finals as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think they ended up giving a gentleman's sweep to Luka and the Mavs. They've had some time off. You just come off a last-second potential shot to lose your series a few days ago as Boston. I mean, they have the rest on their side for consecutive series. I mean, yeah, it is the toughest matchup for Golden State.
It was interesting because like the Western Conference this year was very like when the teams they played Memphis, they played Dallas. It was like okay, like.
I think this is the first time in a while that the Eastern Conference was more competitive than the Western Conference. Like I think there were multiple teams in the Eastern Conference that could have given the top seeds in the Western Conference a run for their money. I don't say the same the other way around.
Yeah, I feel as though I think you could say this as a Brooklyn Nets fan. Out of all the teams in the Western Conference, the one team I wouldn't want to face is Golden State, and I think that just comes from they've been there before. The core is still there. The core is the core that's won all those rings before, so they know what it takes to win a championship. Mm-hmm. And they're going up against this young team. Like the Boston Celtics are a young team. Obviously, we have Jason Tatum, who had multiple Eastern Conference Finals appearances, along with the rest of the guys on the roster. But in terms of making the finals and know what it takes to win a finals, you're also dealing with a rookie head coach.
You are young.
I think that's a very underrated aspect too, because Steve Kerr knows what it takes to win multiple championships, not only as a player but as a coach.
I mean, they are young. I mean, Jason Tatum's only 19 years old, for the last 6 years. But you made it Eastern Conference Finals, like Game 7 against LeBron in Eastern Conference Finals.
Heartbreak.
That was a heartbreak. But, everyone on that team has significant playoff experience, even though they're really young. Tatum was on the Eastern Conference Finals team. Brown, Smart, Horford, we just mentioned, has significant playoff history. I think you're a young team, but it's interesting because you do have that kind of savviness and that kind of experience in the league that could give you an edge over a team that's inexperienced. And believe it or not, I mean, I know the Warriors core is there, but a lot of those guys are new to this kind of situation. If we're being completely honest.
Yeah, I just don't know if it matters in that point, because you also have, like, if Steph goes off, he's going off.
But honestly,
and there's not much you could do outside of that. But the fact is, you have Clay. Clay's been, although I've been mentioning his injury and how he's coming back and he's not the same player, he's been showing signs that the old Clay's still there. I mean, the way these Golden State Warriors moved out the basketball is a thing of beauty.
But I'll say this. If the last few weeks has shown this, if Tatum is on, he's on. And I think you can easily win a game, several games, if Tatum is on. But the thing is, and I've been saying this, if you're in a situation or you're in a game where Brown's your best player on the court, you're not winning that game. Tatum has to be the best player on the court for you to win a game.
That's where my fear lies, because I don't know if you look at it the other way around. If Steph struggles, do the Warriors still find a way to win?
I don't know if they can, to be honest. I don't think they had that luxury like he did with Kevin Durant. Like, if Curry sucked, you have Kevin Durant that could drop 30-plus points. They never got to that situation, but if that were to be the case, you do have a lot of, wiggle room there. It's
interesting because I'm so torn when picking the winner here, because I feel as though a lot of the media has quickly flipped in Boston's favor. And I don't understand why all of a sudden they're all flipping towards Boston. They're seeing, I guess, the game sevens they fought, the hard-fought games. But I also think they're taking into account the weak Western Conference gauntlet that I wouldn't even necessarily call it a gauntlet that Golden State had to go through. And it's just like, it's getting me concerned that so many people believe in the Boston Celtics. And I'm not saying that they're wrong for believing in the Boston Celtics. I'm just saying I don't want the Celtics to be an overhyped team heading into a finals where, again, you're playing against the 3 Hall of Famers and the company that goes along with them, that of 2 lottery picks. You have Jordan Poole that was going crazy. Like, let's not forget that this team was bad for a couple of years, and then they kind of reloaded. James Wiseman's been out for the year, but they still have guys. They have Kuminga, they have Moody, they have guys.
Yeah, I agree. I don't understand the mindset behind, let's throw all of our, all of our eggs behind the Celtics. I mean, I know the Celtics have, been impressive over the last 3 series, but you can make the argument that the Warriors kind of just walked in here. I mean, they really didn't struggle too much in the 3 series they did play. I don't see why you think that, Boston's a clear-cut favorite. I mean, people are saying, the playoff odds, the championship odds, since the All-Star break had Boston as the number 1. I'm like
86%. I showed you that, or it was 80 plus percent like, ESPN rating for when them wins the championship. I said
before the playoffs started, before the All-Star break, I think we were both in agreement that we thought the Golden State Warriors were probably going to make the finals this year. Probably before the season started, they're going to make the finals.
I still think the Golden State Warriors are going to win the finals.
I have to agree. I think it's going to be a hard-fought series just because of Boston's been playing. I think, I think Warriors in 7. That's what I'm leaning towards.
Is that your official prediction?
I think Warriors in 7.
Okay.
I could lean towards Warriors in 6, but I think Boston's not going to back down.
So it hurts my heart to say it. But I truly do believe that it's going to be a Warriors finals championship. I can see it ending in 5 games, but I think it will go in 6. I think Warriors in 6. I think Boston will put a late push to say, they can maybe push a game 7. They'll win a couple games, and then they'll just get bounced. And I think after this game, they're going to talk about Steph Curry being like one of the greatest players of all time. And I think they're also going to make the argument, it's like, what's next for the Boston Celtics? What other move can they potentially make? Because the next move in this equation is potentially moving Al Horford's contract. If you want to add another piece, such as a Bradley Beal or a third quote-unquote superstar. But I don't want to get too much into that because it's like, okay, there's a lot of time. Like right now we're looking at
and I think that'll be the wrong decision. I think you can run it back.
I just don't know. Obviously, I don't want to go too far ahead, but when you look at this roster and you look at, okay, you beat a hurt Milwaukee team, you beat an overrated Miami team that had to only really play the Sixers, who were kind of banged up and didn't have James Harden at full potential, I would say. So the Eastern Conference was definitely easier than it could have been, but it was still a battle because obviously the stars were out. Giannis was still playing. Jimmy Butler was still playing, and those guys gave you problems. So I do think that the Golden State Warriors are going to win this finals. I think Steph Curry is going to win his finals MVP. And the arguments could be made between him and LeBron. And I think that's going to be the big headline because I've been seeing stats right now. It's like, oh, they're comparing Steph Curry and LeBron James. Obviously, Steph has the championships. LeBron has more championships, more MVPs, more. You know what I'm saying? He's got all the accolades. But Steph Curry and these Golden State Warriors, let's not doubt them going into not only this finals but the next couple of years. This is a team that can win a couple more championships with this core. And I think that we're going to see that as the guys around them, these young lottery picks, start to really blossom into their full potential. Because this is like a time that you're going to get the Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green bench pieces. And although they had those deep benches with like Sean Livingston and
Iggy.
Iggy's still on the team.
I know, but when he was
a younger Iggy, yeah. But it's going to be interesting to see what the Golden State Warriors do from here. But it's Heartbreak City. I do believe the Golden State Warriors are winning this finals.
I mean, honestly, I think the Celtics, if they can take one on the road, I think they stand a very good chance.
Do you think Boston wins game one?
I'm leaning towards yes. I think Boston takes game one.
I just don't. I don't know. I don't think so.
Something in the air.
But the thing is, I'm very pessimistic about my teams. It's just a proven fact. Like year after year, I'm very pessimistic about my teams. And I think it's because I watch them so much that I kind of see the flaws in the team. Whereas I don't watch as much Golden State basketball as I probably should have because obviously the West Coast, a lot of the games aren't televised. So, you got to go on like cracked streams and all that. And I'm trying to get viruses. Anyway, it just... Even like when you talk about football, you talk about any other sports, like the Cardinals are not going to be that good. The Celtics, I didn't think the Celtics would go this far. Like when they made the finals, I honestly couldn't believe it. I was like, do I order the Eastern Conference champion shirt? Like, do I do that now or do I wait for the final shirts to come out? I don't know, but the Avenue C curse is also a very real. For those that don't know, obviously, Apollo, friend of the podcast, Anthony, co-host of the podcast, myself, co-host of the podcast. Apollo, big Bengals fan, make the Super Bowl, lose. Heartbreak City. St. Peter's, crazy run. But I wouldn't necessarily say it was a loss, but they didn't win at all.
It definitely was not a loss.
It's not Avenue. The Avenue C curse strikes in different ways.
That was a dub.
A huge dub for them.
Beating Kentucky would have been a dub. You won 3 NCAA games. So that was kind of a March Madness game. That's pretty nuts.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, they didn't win the whole thing. So Heartbreak City, I guess. Boston Celtics, all the way. So it's an interesting time in the Avenue C block, I should say. This section of the Avenue C disaster. Anyway, so I'm also saying the Yankees could potentially your favorite baseball team. Like we have the trifecta of sports. You have football, basketball, and baseball. Like that would be sick. That would be insane.
I mean, it would be sick if they lose.
Hey, never know. Best record in the American League.
Yeah, I know.
Two best records in baseball are both New York teams.
I know. What a time.
What a time for New York sports. Honestly, look at the Rangers. They're up 1-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Look at the Nets.
Look at the Knicks.
Look at the Giants. Jets.
Starting OTAs. Anyway, let's go back to the basketball. I don't know if there's that much left to say. Honestly, I'm hoping for Boston Celtics win, obviously. Like, I would love nothing more to see Jason Tatum win finals MVP, a finals championship. I think if the Boston Celtics win a finals, I wouldn't say in my lifetime because the last one they obviously won, I was very, very young to the point that, like, it was almost hard to even be a fan of sports at that point. Kind of showing the age a little bit on the pod. But anyway, this would be I would be ecstatic if the Boston Celtics won a finals. Like, I think I would buy every single piece of finals merch I could possibly get my hands on just because.
That's valid. That's fair. How many banners would this be? 19?
18. This is banner 18. They would have the most in the NBA because the Lakers tied it 17 during the bubble. LaMickey and A. Disney.
Yeah.
Obviously proving their name.
There's an asterisk. LaMickey.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But you guys shout out the Boston Celtics. Ime Udoka, Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens making moves that, the Kemba Walker trade.
The Chamber of Subtraction.
The Kemba Walker trade was a trade that at first, when he made it, I was just like, are you kidding me? I know exactly where I was. I was at a doctor's appointment. And I was like, they brought in Al Horford. They brought in Moses Brown. And I was like, for Kemba, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Then Kemba got cut and signed with the Knicks, and then Evan Fournier left in free agency, signed with the Knicks. I was like, "This team's terrible," but he was able to do it. Derek White signed Time Lord back. Marcus Smart got a big deal and got Defensive Player of the Year. Al Horford's been balling out. So you know what?
Time Lord.
Peyton Pritchard, a guy on draft night. If I can find my tweet, I'm going to definitely put it on here. I might just pull it up now. But anyway, I tweeted out, I was like, this guy's a baller, because that was after like he destroyed Seton Hall on the like Thanksgiving weekend when Seton Hall was up huge and Peyton Pritchard just went off. But Grant Williams, a guy that I publicly like scrutinized on the podcast multiple times, saying how bad he was of a basketball player.
He's a dog. He's been a dog this playoff series.
Might be pretty good, not gonna lie.
He clapped the Nets. That was not fun.
No, yeah, definitely not.
Played well against Milwaukee.
Oh, I can't find the tweet. Hang on. It's very unfortunate. Right? No. Never mind. My only tweet I have is on January 6th, 2021. It's just me tweeting out Peyton Pritchard that has one like. Anyway. Oh my God. It's almost finals day. Almost finals time.
Not finals week. Not to be confused. Might give people some
I got
anxiety.
PTSD.
People getting anxiety is talking about the finals.
But the Celtics are on a new level.
They are on a new level.
That was crazy.
That was crazy. Unironically said that song to Domenico about the Celtics today, and the Celtics used it as their montage.
It was a fire video too. I don't know if you've seen it. I don't know if you watched the thing I sent you. That was crazy.
He's not even a Boston guy doing the monologue. It was tough.
Yeah, it was very nice. It felt good. Yeah. It felt good in my soul. But what's your opinion on like people posting after every single game? Like, you know, people posting their stories like, oh, after every game like win, they're like, oh, like win. You know what I'm saying? Like if the Boston Celtics win game 1 tonight, do I post that on my story? Is that story worthy?
I think it's story.
I mean, it's
worthy.
You're in the finals. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I didn't do it throughout the whole playoffs. Like I only did it when they beat the Nets. I put that like the broom emojis because obviously it's a sweep. Then when they beat Milwaukee, when they beat Miami, and then I post like any of the hype vids or like sick plays, like Tatum's picture with this trophy.
I think you can get a pass. I was going crazy when St. Peter's was in.
Yeah, but that's different. I feel like when St. Peter's did it, it was like no one saw it coming. Like that was insane. That was a time. Like I felt like I was in like a Black Mirror episode. I'm just like, are you kidding me?
I was trying to post everything I can because I was like, this is not happening again.
The fact that I had a bracket with St. Peter's versus Seton Hall, and that was like my most accurate bracket.
I did too. I was like,
then Seton Hall gets bounced by TCU. I was like, oh my God.
I was like, Doug Eddard hits a fadeaway 3 over Jared Rhoden to win the game.
But that's just like that was just the craziest thing because I was talking to my friends about Doug and I was like, oh yeah, like I'm a huge fan of like Doug, and like I was just saying like I knew Doug, like oh yeah, like we're just big fans, and now he's like the biggest meme on the planet. So, but it was just so funny because everyone's like, oh like who's that? I was like, oh some guy in St. Peter's, like he's pretty cool, like Nutley's very own, from Nutley Bang. But yeah, now he's just big time.
Yeah, and Spoo lost every single player from that roster. Every single guy got minutes.
Every single coach. Like it's a tough time.
The entire team's going into next year.
Fresh blood, new blood, baby.
Yeah, wait until we
new blood turns into blue blood real quick.
I know. Wait until the movie comes out.
Just wait on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sources have confirmed that there is a movie in the movie.
We just saw Casey the other day too. Shout out, Casey.
Seton Hall's very own.
Yeah, Seton Hall's very own. Congrats to Casey.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out.
Okay, let's wrap it up because I'm just gonna go watch a finals game in about 20 minutes. So by the time this podcast gets uploaded, unfortunately, I believe game 1 will be close, if not.
Our takes gonna age like milk.
No, I mean not necessarily because we didn't. If I said the Celtics lose in 6 and they lose game 1, it's not like or if they win game 1.
Well, I said they're gonna win tonight, and I know they're gonna win tonight.
I'll be sure to get this podcast up definitely before halftime ends.
Okay.
Because I figure
they're down 30.
I mean, the audio version is easier to get put up than the video version. Yeah. Let's be real here. The video version takes me a little bit.
Valid.
Takes me a little bit. Get the editing. Can wave to the camera a little bit. It's a little interesting, doing the audio and video at the same time.
I don't know if you realized you played the theme song and we were just sitting here.
No, I understand that, but I'm gonna edit that out of the video.
Got it.
I was thinking about that too, and I clicked the button. I was like, "This is pretty awkward." Why? It was like,
I'm just sitting here like, okay.
You gotta jam out. Like, how does that work? Because usually I cut it off at the end too. Mm-hmm. But I guess I'll do. No, I'm just Just content creator out here. No biggie.
This podcast is about to be giving podcast tips to other podcasts.
Let's not go that far.
Are we feeding? We're feeding into our competition at that point.
Anyway, be sure to follow us on social media at Suits and Takes, and listen to all of our previous episodes on wherever you listen to your podcast. Obviously, on social media at Suits and Takes. It's on all the platforms you can find it on. If we're not on there, unfortunately, we don't have it. But go on Facebook, go on Twitter, go on Instagram, go on TikTok, and go at Suits and Takes and find us. Give us a follow. Give us a couple likes. It really, really helps us out. Again, Linktree has all the links that you need. If you can't find it, you don't know how to spell Suits and Takes, or you're just an idiot at that point. At Suits and Takes, go on the Linktree that's in our bio on all our social media platforms. Once again, my name is Domenico Concoli. I'm here alongside Anthony Concoli, and this has been another episode of Suits and Takes. Go Celtics.
Peace.